Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
India has more than 50% of its population below the age of 25 and more than 65% below the age of 35. It is expected that in 2020, the average age of an Indian will be 29 years. The number of first-time voters in 2014's general elections stands at a whopping 149.36 million. Hence, it is very important to go all guns blazing to inspire the youth in shaping India the way we dream it. In 2009, when we held our last general elections, India's population was about 1.19 billion. Given current growth rates, it's about 1.27 billion today, an increase of about 80 million Indians in these 5 years. We have added about 48 million first-time voters to the registered electorate.
You know, the Election Commission has been concerned for many years that many voters are not coming forward, and there are three things we want: that they should, every 18-year-old should register, and on the day of poll he should come and vote, he or she, and also vote ethically. So India voting is more about the first part, registration of voters.
With the national elections around the corner, voters' participation in the democratic and electoral processes is integral to the successful running of any democracy and the very basis of wholesome democratic elections. Thus, it becomes an integral part of election management.
The Election Commission of India is quite concerned that there should be full participation of Indian citizens in the electoral process. It has two aspects, simple. One is anyone who is eligible should be on our electoral roll, and everyone who is on the electoral roll should go out and vote. But this is not happening, and that's where perhaps there is a democracy deficit. It doesn't make us feel happy and proud that 40% of the Indian electorate generally do not vote in a national election. In some states it's even worse. In some states it's a little better.
We realize that without participation, democracy has no meaning. If people don't turn up to vote and they don't register, democracy loses its significance. Therefore, we thought we will have a proactive voter education program, and we studied the apathy of the voters. Why is it that they are not reporting? Why they are not registering, particularly young people or everybody else? So we commissioned knowledge, attitude, behavior and practice (BP) studies for short, for professional agencies to find out the answer. And we found there are three reasons why they were not registering. One, some of them did not even know that at 18 you become eligible to vote. Secondly, they did not know what is the procedure and process involved. Or third, they had the kind of a negative opinion about politics and politicians. Therefore, they were not really bothered. We needed to address all three.
To address the challenge to increase voter turnout, CELL, the Center for Ethical Life and Leadership, in conjunction with its coalition partners, have launched a website to bring voter registration at the doorstep in order to overcome urban voter apathy and increase voter turnout on election day.
Basically, people are afraid of what they don't know, right? And so, to get a driver's license or a PAN card, there's usually some agent or some guy, and you just do it and you get it done. For an election card, which you only generally get once you turn 18 and probably once or twice depending on whether you move, a lot of people, at least in the metros, they don't know what the process is. So ignorance is half the problem. They don't know what the process is. And frankly, doing my research, I didn't know what the process was, and I tried to read the forms and understand the nitty-gritties, and it was confusing. And I went to the Election Commission. I met Dr. Alok Shukla, super technical guy, and he tells me, hey, the address proof isn't as onerous as people are thinking. You don't need a nationalized bank, or you don't need a PAN card. You need any letter that's been mailed to you by the Indian Postal Service. Anything that proves you actually live there. Even if you're a tenant, a landlord can write a letter and say this person lives here. Because remember, the statutory validation, where they come and check whether you live there, really is the strict, they make sure you live there. But at the upfront, where they just need to show your address proof, it doesn't have, a lot of people get afraid of the address proof. It doesn't have to be something that we're used to, something that's only a nationalized bank. It could be pretty much any piece of mail that's been given to you through the Indian Post, or a letter from your landlord that says you live there. And once I found out that it's that easy, that's when we got this thing going, where we said, look, people don't know it's this easy and this simple.
We very clearly see that this coming election would have large number of first-time voters. They're young, they want to come out and vote, and we have to take our voting population up from what was in 50s to 75, 80, because I think we want people to be involved. And then, Hitesh approached me and he said, how can we scale this? And I think the best way to do is to ask our companies, where we have lakhs of people in each. We have 32 lakh people who work in our industry. So if we can get that population excited, we can get this done. And one of the biggest problems that we have is people say, I'm a transient, I moved in from one city to the other, I don't have a voter ID and so on. So how can we make it easier to get that done? And I think that was our basic purpose of getting this there. And I'm very excited. So we do see that in this particular election, a lot of young people will land up voting.
I set about trying to figure out how hard it is to get an election card, and why can't we do some of these voter registration camps at the campuses. And so I ended up leaving my corporate life, joining a nonprofit, working with the Election Commission to get all of the industry bodies to agree that they needed to push this issue and that they needed to provide voter registration facilities at the doorstep. And that's what India Voting, that's how it came about. And wonderful partners, like BPAC, India Coding, Volunteer for a Better India. It's almost like all these things started to conspire to help this. I got on-the-grass partners. I got a foundation like Reliance or Dell, NASCOM Foundation, to show up and say, we want to help support you. I got good support from ASOCHAM. So everything started falling into place, and we have not looked back since.
IndiaVoting.org is a website which helps corporate India to bring its employees to come and register themselves for a voter card and take an active part in the system. To get yourself registered, you need to visit the website and follow 7 basic steps. Fill in all the necessary details. Once completed, you need all the green checks to submit the form. Then you will get a Form 6 emailed to you with further instructions.
To fill up the form to register as voter used to be quite a task for many people. India Voting is only trying to make it easy so that they can fill up the form and then also send it to the right officer in the Election Commission. After that, we must remember that it is the job of the Election Commission to verify all those forms and issue the ID card, and that will happen in due course. India Voting could not be distributing those cards. That distribution of cards will have to be done by the Election Commission. We thought that the corporate sector can play a very active role in this. After all, they have millions of employees. Because as they say, charity begins at home, let them start with their own employees.